The lobby smelled like expensive vanilla and fresh pine needles. I had spent the whole afternoon making the fireplace look perfect. I stacked the logs, polished the brass fire irons, and brushed away every speck of ash. The main room of the lodge looked beautiful for the weekend guests. There were plush blankets on the sofas, glowing lanterns on the side tables, and freshly baked cinnamon rolls resting on the counter. That was when I heard the sharp, annoying beep of a smartphone. Then came Chloe's voice, loud and mocking, aimed directly at her front-facing camera lens. And here she is, everyone. Our very own helper, always working hard in the background. She was standing near the grand staircase, phone held high in the air, the red recording light blinking steadily. My back was turned toward her. I could not see her face, but I heard the smug smile in her voice clearly. I set the heavy iron fire poker down slowly. By the time I turned around, she was already gone, her designer boots clicking loudly up the wooden stairs, laughing to herself. The fire was still warm. The lobby was still lovely. But something inside me had shifted quietly, like a heavy door closing forever. Welcome to Revenge Tomorrow, where stories don't just entertain, they hit back. Get comfortable, because today's story will take you on a journey you won't forget. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. Hit that like button, subscribe and join the family, because trust me, you're about to get hooked. My name is Evelyn Whitmond. I am 65 years old. I spent 35 years working as a high school principal, raised my daughter Sarah alone after my husband passed away when she was young, and saved every penny I could. This mountain lodge is mine in every real sense. I bought it 30 years ago after decades of careful budget planning. It has 12 guest rooms, a beautiful wrapping porch, a small office lined with old history books, and a wide leather chair by the massive stone fireplace that catches the afternoon sun. I am not a flashy woman, but I know the difference between buying a place and building a home. I know every creak in these pine floors. I helped lay the stones for that fireplace. I painted every single bedroom door with my own hands. 2 years ago, I opened this lodge to my daughter and her new husband, Brandon, because they asked for help. I truly believed it would be a wonderful family arrangement. I was wrong, but I was about to fix it completely. Sarah called me on a chilly Tuesday evening. Her voice had that nervous, overly sweet tone that mothers always recognize. She explained that Brandon's business had hit a rough patch. They needed a place to stay while they got back on their feet. It would be just for a few months, maybe a year at most. They would help run the lodge. They would not be a burden. I asked if Brandon was truly comfortable living with a parent. Sarah said yes immediately. I heard his voice in the background, laughing with a friend. I thought it over for 2 long days. Then I called her back and said yes. I cleared out the largest suite on the 2nd floor, bought premium linens, stocked their private bathroom with luxury soaps, and moved my own personal keepsakes into the basement storage to give them space. I wanted them to feel deeply welcomed. I set no strict rules because I believed family did not need contracts. That was my biggest mistake. Not the kindness itself, but the foolish assumption that kindness alone would protect my dignity. The first few weeks felt quite manageable. Brandon helped chop firewood twice. Sarah folded the guest towels once. But slowly, without a single word being spoken aloud, the daily pattern changed completely. I started cooking every breakfast because Sarah was too tired to wake up early. I took over the heavy laundry because Brandon kept forgetting how to run the commercial washers. The scrubbing, the sweeping, the greeting of guests, the grocery runs. All of it fell quietly into my daily routine. Brandon's muddy boots began to clutter the main entryway. Sarah's fashion magazines covered the antique coffee tables. They ate freely from the lodge's commercial pantry without asking. The business credit card I gave them for emergencies quickly became their personal shopping fund. They lived like royalty. They spent my money without a second thought. And I just kept quiet and kept working. I told myself this was what a loving mother did. I told myself family meant sacrificing your own comfort. I did not understand until that camera clicked in my lobby what I had actually become in my own home. After Chloe, who was Brandon's snobbish younger sister staying as a permanent free guest, Walked away, I went to my office. I sat on the edge of my chair and opened my phone. I found the video online in seconds. She had posted it publicly to thousands of followers. The caption read, "Our helper keeping the lodge clean. What would we do without her?" Faced with tears of joy. There were already dozens of comments underneath it. Laughing emojis. People tagging their friends. Someone asked if I was a hired servant or a relative. Chloe had replied to that comment with a winking face and nothing else. Then I saw Brandon's comment. He had posted 3 laughing emojis in a row. Not a single word of defense for me. Not a question. Not even a hint of mild discomfort. Just 3 laughing emojis, easy and public and completely unbothered by the insult. I locked my phone screen and set it face down on the desk. I did not cry. I did not feel the sharp pain I expected. What moved through me instead was something far more useful. It was cold, clean, and steady clarity. I sat without moving for a very long time. The television murmured loudly from their upstairs suite. They were probably settled on the expensive sofa I bought, eating my food, and liking comments on Chloe's disrespectful post. I thought through the past 2 years very carefully. Every single early morning breakfast. Every heavy load of sheets. Every expensive grocery run paid for with my hard-earned money. Every single time I had moved my own things aside to make space for their comfort. Every time I had retreated to my small back office because they were throwing parties in the main lodge room. This was my property. I had bought it with my own career earnings. And I had, without one loud argument, let myself become a ghost inside my own walls. I was not going to raise my voice. I was not going to make an angry scene in front of the guests. That was never my style, and I refused to start now. But I was absolutely going to stop disappearing. I was going to stop smoothing things over. The plan was forming. I stood up, changed into a fresh wool blazer, and picked up my leather handbag and my car keys. I walked calmly through the lobby toward the heavy wooden front door. Brandon looked down from the second-floor balcony. "Evelyn, where are you going? The kitchen hasn't prepared our dinner yet." "Out," I said pleasantly, flashing a calm smile. "Enjoy the leftover stew." I closed the front door softly behind me. Not a loud slam. Just a quiet, clean, solid click. I drove 30 miles to a luxury lakeside hotel I had always wanted to visit. The man at the front desk gave me a beautiful corner room with a massive window looking over the dark water. I saw bare winter trees, still water, and bright stars appearing in the night sky. I ordered a hot bowl of mushroom soup and fresh bread from room service. I ran a deep, warm bath. I read 50 pages of a mystery novel I had been meaning to start for over 6 months. Sarah sent 2 texts. Brandon sent one asking where the pantry keys were. I ignored them all. I woke up before sunrise the next morning. I made hot coffee using the little desk kettle and sat watching the pale yellow light come slowly up over the lake. The silence in the room was wide, clean, and completely wonderful. I opened my business banking app on my phone. The credit card I had given Sarah and Brandon sat there, linked directly to my main account. I clicked on the card management tab. I pressed the button that said deactivate. No drama. No loud announcements needed. Then I drafted a quick email to my lawyer about the property deeds and corporate structure of the lodge. I had been putting this meeting off for months out of guilt. I hit send and closed the app. My phone immediately began to buzz. It was a frantic text message from Sarah. I read it once, set the phone face down on the white sheets, and poured myself a second cup of coffee. I ordered a massive breakfast from the kitchen downstairs. Scrambled eggs, thick slices of toast, fresh orange juice, and a small pot of berry jam. Ate slowly. Sarah's text messages kept arriving all morning. The first one said the credit card was declined at the local wholesale market with a full cart of expensive steaks. The second one said the experience was completely humiliating. The third one angrily asked why I was not responding to her calls. There was also a missed call from Brandon. I read all of them while sitting comfortably in my car at a scenic overlook on the highway. I had stopped at a local bakery for a warm blueberry muffin and a proper espresso to enjoy during the drive. The young woman inside the bakery had wrapped my pastry in brown paper and told me she loved my winter coat. I thanked her warmly and gave her a generous tip. The drive back up the mountain was bright and cold. Frost was still lying in the shaded corners of the pine forest. I took the longer scenic route through the valley because the light was beautiful. When I finally turned into my driveway and saw the lodge, I sat in the car for a quiet moment. Chloe was already standing in the hallway near the reception desk. Her arms were folded tightly across her chest. Her face was flushed bright red with anger. "What exactly happened to the credit card?" she demanded before I had even finished unwinding my wool scarf. I hung my coat carefully on the wooden hook and took my time. "I cancelled it." She repeated my words slowly, as if they made absolutely no sense to her brain. "You cancelled it. Without telling us." I was at the cash register with a full cart of groceries. Brandon appeared from the back office, looking incredibly uncomfortable. "Evelyn, that was a bit sudden, don't you think? We look foolish." "That card was strictly for lodge emergencies," I said, looking directly into both of their eyes. "It quickly became your personal funding for fancy dinners and clothing. I am not funding 3 capable adults anymore. So what are we supposed to do for money?" Chloe snapped. "Use your own," I said. "Like normal adults do." That evening I cooked dinner only for myself. I made a simple plate of garlic pasta with good Parmesan cheese, poured a glass of red wine, and sliced a fresh pear. I set exactly 1 place at the long dining table. 1 plate, 1 glass, 1 cloth napkin. Brandon appeared in the doorway halfway through my meal. He stared at the single plate setting. He stood there silently, clearly waiting for me to offer him a portion. Kept eating calmly. "You are not cooking for the house tonight?" he asked finally, his voice trailing off. "I cooked for myself," I replied with a polite nod. "The kitchen fridge is almost entirely empty," he murmured. "There is flour, eggs, and frozen vegetables in the lower freezer," I said. "You are all grown adults. I am sure you will manage to feed yourselves." He stood there for another uncomfortable moment. Chloe appeared right behind him, rolling her eyes. They exchanged an annoyed look and walked away. 20 minutes later, I heard loud pots banging in the kitchen. On Wednesday morning, Brandon came downstairs holding a wrinkled blue dress shirt. He had an important meeting with a potential investor town. He needed it pressed immediately. "Evelyn, have you run the laundry today? I need this shirt ironed." I was sitting at the lobby table with my morning newspaper and a hot cup of herbal tea. "Your personal laundry basket is upstairs in your hallway," I said without looking up from the article. "The commercial washing machines are in the basement. You know exactly how to operate them. But you always handle the laundry cycles on Wednesday mornings," he argued, looking genuinely confused. "I used to do that as a favor," I said evenly. "I am a retired woman, Brandon. That is very different from being on your personal cleaning staff. If Chloe has enough free time for her morning social media videos, she has time to wash a shirt. So do you." He blinked rapidly. He looked like a person who just realized a permanent rule was actually just a temporary kindness. That afternoon, I walked through my downstairs public areas and looked at them properly for the first time in months. Chloe's makeup bags blanketed my antique coffee tables entirely. Brandon's muddy hiking shoes blocked the main entrance. 3 of Sarah's shopping bags were piled carelessly in the corner of the fireplace room. Her phone charger had taken over the main socket on my favorite reading lamp. I found a large wicker storage basket in the hall closet. Magazines, shoes, makeup bags, and chargers all went inside. I carried the heavy basket upstairs and set it directly outside their bedroom door. Then I went to the locked storage room and retrieved my favorite old leather reading chair. It was wide, deep, covered in faded green leather, and completely comfortable. I carried it to the main lobby window where the afternoon light came in. I sat down. The warm sunlight lay across my lap. I had spent 2 years moving through my own lodge like an unwanted guest. That ended today. Chloe came back to the lodge about an hour later. She stopped abruptly in the living room doorway and stared at me, then at the green leather chair. "What is that ugly thing?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. "My reading chair," I said, keeping my eyes on my book page. "It does not match our aesthetic at all," she said angrily. "Sarah and I wanted this room to look light, modern, and trendy for our social media pictures. That old chair looks completely out of place." "This is my mountain lodge," I said pleasantly. "I like the chair by the window. It stays here." She crossed her arms tightly. "And where are my personal design magazines? My shopping bags?" "In a basket outside your bedroom door upstairs," I said. "From now on, please keep your personal items in your own quarters. The downstairs area is for lodge guests and my own comfort. I want it to feel like my home again." She opened her mouth to yell, but stopped herself, turning around. The following morning, I phoned a local handyman named Thomas whom I had used for years. He arrived at 8 o'clock sharp, well before the kids were awake. I had him install heavy, solid brass locks on my bedroom door and on my private office door. Sarah and Chloe had long treated both rooms as their personal storage closets. They would wander in to take my expensive hand creams, my sewing scissors, or my shipping tape without asking. Once, I had come home to find Chloe sitting at my private desk writing letters. Thomas finished the installation work in just over an hour. He handed me 2 shiny sets of keys for each door. I paid him in cash, thanked him warmly, and locked my office door immediately. I locked my bedroom door too, just to feel the wonderful certainty of it. The sound of both locks clicking into place was clean, solid, and deeply satisfying to my soul. I placed the keys into my pocket. Chloe came downstairs around 9 o'clock in her silk dressing gown. She was carrying her empty coffee mug down the hallway the way she always did, automatic and unthinking. She reached out her hand for my office door handle as she passed by. Nothing moved. The handle was completely rigid. She rattled it much harder, looking confused. "Is this door broken or jammed?" she called out loudly. I stepped out from the kitchen doorway. "No, Chloe. It is locked." She turned around quickly. "Locked? Why on earth would you lock it?" "Because it is my private personal space," I said calmly. "I do not want anyone going into my rooms without asking my permission directly." "That is completely over the top," she scoffed. "We are supposed to be a family. What are you hiding in there anyway?" "My peace of mind," I said simply. I turned around and went back to my tea. My personal station wagon had been parked out on the street for 8 long months. It suffered through rain, winter frost, and falling tree sap. Meanwhile, my large garage sat packed to the ceiling with Brandon and Sarah's old moving boxes, spare apartment furniture, 2 dusty mountain bikes, and bags of winter clothes they had promised to sort out during their first week. On a cold, dry Saturday morning, I put on my heavy garden boots and thick work gloves. I opened the garage door wide. I worked hard for 4 straight hours. Box by box, bag by bag, I moved everything carefully to the covered carport in the backyard. It was sheltered from the weather on 3 sides. Nothing would get wet. When the garage floor was completely bare, I swept it clean with a broom. Then I started my car and reversed it into the exact center of the garage. I pressed the wall button and watched the door roll down. Brandon came home in the middle of the afternoon and saw the entire backyard carport stacked with their cardboard boxes. He marched directly into the lobby where I was sitting. "Evelyn, why is all of our stuff sitting outside in the yard?" he demanded. "It is under the covered carport," I said without looking up. "Everything is dry and safe." "But why did you move it without asking us?" "You promised to clean out that garage within the first month of moving in," I said evenly. "That was exactly 24 months ago. My car has been sitting in the freezing frost all that time. Please sort through your items this weekend." "We have a dinner party scheduled for Saturday," he complained. "Then handle it this evening or rearrange your social weekend," I said. "The carport space is temporary. Move it or it goes to charity." He stared at me, looking for the old version of me that would apologize. 3 days later, I came downstairs to the main kitchen and opened the large commercial refrigerator. My personal shelf looked wrong immediately. My sharp cheddar cheese was completely gone. My organic Greek yogurt was missing. The fresh sourdough bread loaf I had bought on Thursday had completely vanished. In its place was a small note written in Sarah's messy handwriting. Since you want everything separate now, we are keeping things separate too. We took some of your food items this morning because we haven't gone to the store yet. We'll replace it later. I read the note twice. Then, to my own surprise, I smiled. I got dressed, drove down to the local appliance store, and bought a small, compact white refrigerator. It was delivered the very next morning. The delivery men placed it directly inside my locked office room. That afternoon, I went to the premium grocery market and bought smoked salmon, aged cheeses, and fresh fruit. I locked them away in my office. The following Friday evening, I was reading comfortably in my green leather chair when bright car headlights swept across the front lobby window. An unfamiliar black SUV pulled up outside. Two older people climbed out, pulling small rolling suitcases behind them on the gravel path. Sarah had the front door open before they even reached the porch steps. "Mom, you finally made it. Come right in," she cheered warmly. It was Brandon's parents. I had only met them twice before at their wedding. They seemed pleasant enough, but absolutely nobody had told me about this weekend visit. Not one single text message. Not a mention at dinner. I sat completely still in my chair and waited to see what would happen next. Sarah led them down the hallway, chatting happily. Then her footsteps stopped abruptly at the first-floor guest room door. I heard the brass handle turn. Silence followed. Then she rattled it violently. Sarah appeared in my living room doorway. Her bright, happy expression had completely vanished from her face. "Did you lock the guest suite down here?" she asked through clenched teeth. I set down my wine glass, stood up politely, and turned with genuine warmth toward Brandon's surprised parents. "Good evening, folks. Did you have a comfortable drive up the mountain? Can I offer you some hot tea?" They nodded their heads, smiling uncertainly, clearly sensing the tense atmosphere in the room without understanding the cause. Sarah stepped directly between me and her parents. Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "Evelyn, open this room right now. My in-laws are staying here for the entire weekend." "I am truly sorry," I said calmly. "The guest suite is no longer available for visitors. I have converted it into my private painting studio. I am finally starting my art projects." Sarah's jaw tightened in disbelief. "You cannot be serious right now. You are more than welcome to host Brandon's parents in your own living space upstairs," I said gently. "You have a large sitting area and a very comfortable pull-out sofa. I am sure they will be perfectly fine up there." Brandon's father cleared his throat loudly, looking embarrassed. His mother stared intently at the wooden ceiling pine. Without saying a single word, Brandon came down the stairs, picked up both heavy suitcases, and carried them up to the second floor. Sarah followed him, her back completely rigid with anger. Her parents followed quietly behind her. I finished my glass of wine, rinsed it carefully in the sink, and put it away in the cupboard. The mountain lodge had its own new logic now. Different rules, and they were clearly mine. Everyone was finally beginning to understand. On Sunday afternoon, Brandon's parents said their goodbyes at the front door. The farewell was very brief and somewhat stiff. Their black SUV quickly disappeared down the mountain road. 5 minutes later, Brandon found me in the side garden. I was trimming the dead winter stems from my rose bushes. He stood on the stone path with his hands stuffed deep into his pockets. "Things have become very strange and cold around here lately, Evelyn," he said finally. "Yes, they have," I agreed pleasantly and kept snipping at a branch. "Sarah is really hurt by all of this," he murmured. "She cries in our room at night." "I am truly sorry that she is hurting," I said honestly, looking at him. "But I am absolutely never going back to how things used to be." I reached into my blazer pocket and pulled out a white envelope. I held the envelope toward him. He took it slowly from my hand, looking at it as if it might be something dangerous. "What is this?" he asked. "A formal rental agreement for the entire second-floor suite," I said. It is set at a fair market rate for the square footage, plus your exact share of the utility bills. It officially begins on the 1st of next month. He stared down at the paper for a long moment. If you both choose to sign it, you are welcome to stay here as legal tenants, I said. If you do not want to sign it, I am asking you to vacate the property within 3 months so you can find your own apartment comfortably. I picked my garden shears back up. He turned around and walked back inside the lodge completely alone. They signed the lease 3 days later. 6 months later, Sarah and Brandon saved enough money to move into their own small townhouse across town. The experience taught them how to be independent, and it saved our relationship from being ruined by resentment. On their moving day, Sarah hugged me tightly and whispered, "Thank you for waking us up, Mom. We needed to grow up." As I sat by my fireplace that evening, enjoying the beautiful clean silence of my lodge, I realized the valuable moral lesson of this journey. True love does not mean allowing yourself to be used or diminished by the people you care about. Setting firm boundaries is not selfish. It is an act of respect for yourself and a necessary guide for others to treat you with dignity. I took a sip of my tea, leaned back into my green leather chair and smiled. I had finally taken my life back.